Hello people, Keterson here, and welcome back to another story time. Today, I'm going to be telling you all about the time that there was this insane fight at my school, and it actually ended up in 2 people being arrested. So this fight included 2 people. For the first person, we're going to call him Mark. Now, Mark was a very buff guy, right? He was part of the football team, he had to work out and stuff, so yeah, this dude had some muscles. Like, he was a pretty big guy. And then the other kid who was a part of the fight was actually this really scrawny, like thin, super short. I think he was like 5'2" or 5'3" at the time. Just overall like a tiny person. We'll call him Matt, by the way. So we have Mark and Matt. But right, this fight already doesn't even seem fair, and I haven't even explained anything to you other than their names and how big they were. So we have like this super tall, like probably 6'1" buff guy, and then this 5'2" scrawny kid. Anyways, we were sitting in math class, and our teacher had asked Mark a question, and Mark didn't respond with the correct answer or even an answer regarding the question whatsoever. He said something like very smart. He said that the answer to the math question was blue. So he was just being an absolute smart aleck. Now, Matt was like a teacher's pet too, right? So he kisses up to the teacher and he calls out Mark in front of the whole class. He calls out Mark and basically tells him that he's not funny whatsoever and he's nothing but a distraction to the class. And if he's not going to give correct answers, then he should just leave, right? Matt went absolutely in on Mark. And Mark wasn't really going to have that. Mark bit back and started making fun of Matt and his appearance and, like the size of him and stuff like that. And Mark had like this huge ego the whole time. He was just saying like, I'm better than you. You're just this little guy and you're stupid. And Mark was trying to say that he was smarter and stuff. And that really made Matt upset because Matt was probably the smartest kid in the entire class. All right. He does have a big brain. Him himself may be this tiny little guy, but his brain is massive. Anyways, Matt actually responds to what Mark is saying and him calling him small and all this stuff and him making fun of his appearance, like I said. And Matt basically goes in on a Mark and starts saying that he's never going to be successful, that Matt himself is going to have this great big job, make millions of dollars, and Mark is going to be homeless one day, right? Like, he's just going in on him, telling him he'll never be successful. And this is the point where Mark starts to get really mad. He starts screaming at Matt. I don't even remember what he was really saying, but I just know that he was mad, right? Screaming on top of his lungs. He like got up out of his chair and started walking up to him, yelling in Matt's face. The teacher's getting all mad, calling the office, trying to get this all sorted out. But then before anybody was able to break up this fight or anything that was going on right now, Mark picks up Matt by the shirt and takes him out of the classroom. Literally, like, his hand was holding Matt by nothing but his shirt. And he literally walked him out of the classroom. Like, I cannot make this up. And now they're in the hallway, right? Everybody gets up out of their desks, runs into the hallway, starts filming. I wish I still had the video of this because I know that there are videos out there. I asked a couple of my friends and nobody has it. But Mark and Matt are in the hallway. Matt's still being held up by his shirt. Mark's screaming, yelling at him. There's so many people in the hallways watching this all go down. One of the people watching it all go down was actually one of Matt's friends. And this friend, we'll call him Mike. So we got Mark, who's fighting Matt, and then Matt's friend, Mike. Now, Mike was actually a soccer player, so, he had to, like, still exercise a lot, and he had to be in shape, which he was. He was a pretty big guy himself. I still think Mark was definitely a little bit bigger than him, but Mike was not a scrawny kid. So Mike sees all this going down, and he goes up to Mark, who's still holding Matt by the shirt, by the way, and he just pops Mark right in the face, just gives him a huge punch. Mark falls down to the ground almost instantly. Matt flies out of his hand, goes down the hallway. He's running away. Now Mark is mad at somebody else. He's mad at Mike. Now, there is no way in the world Mark was going to pick Mike up by the shirt just like he did to Matt. So rather than doing that, Mark, while still laying on the floor, kicks in Mike's leg, and Mike like plummets to the ground, falls, and now they're both on the hallway floor, like fighting it out, punching each other, and like basically wrestling at this point. This is a full out fight, probably the craziest fight I've ever seen. People already have black eyes, their noses are bleeding, like, it's going down. So they continue fighting. It goes on for about probably 5 minutes, and honestly, everybody at this point is just thinking, how is this fight still going on? How are these two still going at it? Especially whenever we literally have a police officer at the school whose only job is to make sure stuff like this doesn't happen. And also, before any of this broke out, our teacher called the office, like I said. So it just doesn't really make sense how this is still going on. And it's starting to get bad, right? Like, people are getting scared because they're still fighting. They're really going at it, like throwing some big punches. It's not any like wussy shit or anything like that. Point is that the police officer and like the principal and all them took way too long to get to this fight to break it up. Anyways, after probably like 7 or 8 minutes of fighting, they finally show up. Police officer is like super angry. He's yelling, telling them to get off each other, trying to push each other off. And eventually he does get them to break up. However, like I said, it was not easy for the cop to break up this fight. He actually had to put Mark in handcuffs and then walk him away by himself, and then also put Mike in handcuffs and walk him down separately. Like, it was so ridiculous. They both literally were in handcuffs going back to the office. And let me also just say this. You should have seen how bad they were both messed up in the face. Like, I guarantee you they still have scars to this day from that fight. Like, there was blood everywhere, bruises. Like, they both literally looked like they just got done fighting a great white shark who was trying to eat them alive. Like, I swear to God. Anyways, they both get walked down to the office in handcuffs separately, like I said. And then after the two go down to the office, the teachers start bringing everybody back into the classroom. Everybody's still really rowdy because this crazy fight just happened and everybody wants to do nothing but talk about it. I remember all you saw on Snapchat that day was the fight. Like, it was literally on every single person's Snapchat. That's how I know so much about this fight, because I saw it probably like 10,000 times. Well, actually probably like 60 times because I only had a class of like 70. Anyways, regardless, I saw this fight a lot of times through snaps and all that. And, you know, people just did nothing but talk about it for the next week. So we're all back in our classrooms. I remember our teacher just decided not to teach for the rest of the day. I guess he had enough. So we're all just sitting around talking about, you know, what was going on. And then eventually the bell rings and we move on to our next class. Mike and Mark were still in the office, by the way, at this point. Like, they have not come back to class. And this was at the start of class. So they've been out for a whole period already. And then, you know, the next period goes by. Nobody still sees them. All the way up till the end of the day, nobody sees Mike or Mark at all. They're nowhere to be found. We didn't know if they maybe got sent home or expelled or suspended or what was really going on there. Nobody at the time knew what was going on whatsoever. However, somebody did find out what went on the next day at school. So one of Mark's good friends posted a picture of Mark's mugshot on his Snapchat with the caption something like #FreeMark or something like that. I really can't remember the exact hashtag that was used, but I know that there was a whole free Mark thing going around in the school. But that's besides the point. We just found out that Mark was arrested over this fight. Like, literally arrested. I mean, he was 16 at the time, so he went to a detention center rather than a jail. But regardless, this dude, like, actually got arrested over a fight that basically the whole school watched and everybody knew about. And during that day of school, nobody really knew what happened to Mike still. Like, there's been no news about that at this point. But come the next day, we actually do find out that he was also arrested. Matt showed one or two of his close friends the mugshot that came out of Mike, and I guess his friends just started to spread it around. I don't even know at this point if it was a rumor or not, but supposedly Mike also was arrested over this fight, even though he wasn't the one who initiated it. But I'm guessing that fighting in a school, and if it becomes that bad, it's actually like more than just getting expelled or suspended. Like, you could actually serve jail time or I guess detention center time over it. But yeah, that's supposedly what happened to both of them. Once again, I still don't know if Mike going to jail was a rumor or not, because neither of them ever returned to school, as they were both expelled from school. I'm guessing that they had to move to a different county or something so then they can actually like still go to school, since it's a legal thing that you must be in school. Or who knows, maybe they're homeschooled. I don't really know. Point is, nobody really knows what really truly happened to them after they went through detention center. Nobody knows how long they were in detention center, or at least I didn't, or none of my friends did. Like, maybe some of Mark's or Mike's close friends knew what happened, but I really have no idea. Moral of the story is, don't get into fights at school. That's bad.